So do you go into these with a general idea of stay put, move up, move down, or how open are you when the phone rings to any sort of possible strategy?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to say that you listen to every deal, and if I go back my years as a GM, 20th year, whatever, I've made a lot of deals on draft day, both for players and for, what happens in the draft. You might have, let's say the 14th pick that we have, we might have 3 or 4 guys that we're very comfortable with. So you say, we move back to 17 or 18, we know we're going to get one of those guys and pick up another asset. So yeah, there's some strategically thinking behind it. But I'm also a believer, if there's a guy on that list and you really want him, you just step up and take him.
Hey, Don. Question: at that spot of the draft, 14 and 20, do prospective trade partners want to see who's going to be there? In other words, is that a hard trade to make before the draft gets rolling?
Certainly, that's been some of the discussions to date. I would say this, that if somebody steps up with the right move prior to that, we would love to do it prior, not have to sit there and wait for that pick, because my amateur guys say, well, I love that player that's there too. So, yeah, that happens all the time, where we've had lots of discussions the last few weeks with a lot of teams, and there's certainly some teams that don't even have first round picks. They're waiting to see who might be available, and they'll start with 10, 11, 12, try to work their way through, sure.
Yeah. And do you get the sense in this draft, again, where you're picking 14 or 20, that those picks alone are enough to acquire someone of significance that you want, or is that maybe a sweetener as part of a deal?
No, I think it could be a big part of a deal. People talk about drafts not being strong and weak, and I don't look at it that way. You might not have the Sabrinis and some of the top end guys, but players are going to play. The difference in this draft, you might take a player at 14 that other teams have 25, because there's such I think everybody agrees that the top 7 guys are going to go 1 through 7 in some order. But after that, the guy that goes 8, we might have 20th on our list. Doesn't mean they're not going to play. It doesn't mean it's a bad draft. It's just after that first group of players, there's certainly a drop off.
Don, how different is this draft too in terms of making deals, in that it's a decentralized draft? You just can't walk over a table or two and chat and make a deal, where it's more getting on the phone and everything.
Yeah, that's probably the part that we don't like as a GM, because there's some strategy behind that how you work the floor too. There's certainly where when you're on the phone with another GM, the other GMs don't see that. So there is some strategy that you use when you're on the floor that I have used, but we're accomplishing the same thing to a certain extent, because you talk to everybody. But it's I would agree that being in person, there's a lot more deals potential to be made.
Hey, Don, what kind of a challenge has this market presented? Because a lot of teams ahead of you have expressed the same thing you have, of making their first round picks available, and just how does that impact your approach, knowing that?
Well, right now, there seems to be a shortage of players, because everybody wants players for players, and there's a few teams that that maybe don't have first round picks that are looking for that, but most teams are trying to make deals, hockey trades for players. So it's been a different year I'm going to be honest, with all my years that I've been doing it. This has been, I don't know where all the players went, because there doesn't seem to be enough players to go around for everybody, and I guess we'll find out in another week or so. But everybody, I've talked to a lot of teams. I've been offered to move up, from 14 into the 8 to 15 or 8 to 13 range, but we don't see a point in that right now. Now maybe that changes on draft day, because we do have multiple picks, but in the first round. But right now, it's been I will say, very unique last few weeks for sure.
I know you've spent a a lot of time and put a lot of work just to getting to this point, even though maybe there's nothing to show for signings or anything. Draft's going to come and go. Free agency is going to be here really quick. Do you feel like there's enough time based on what the work that you've put in with some of your UFAs and guys like that, where you can get deals done before July 1st if you want to?
Yeah, for sure, because I've been talking to the guys, pretty much daily. Players have a right to test the market. We've known that for years, and whether they get there or not, and just because they get there doesn't mean that they're leaving for sure. But yeah, the time's not an issue. We got it's 24 hours every day. And I probably look like I haven't slept in a couple of days, but no, I'm not worried about running out of time. You're actually, I think in this situation, time works in our favor because a lot of people don't react to there's deadlines. And there's deadlines that are coming because whether it's us trying to sign our own guys and we may go out and do something else on July 1st, which would lock them out potentially. So I think anytime you see, it's like the trade deadline and all these different deadlines we have, why does everything happen at the deadline? It's because there's a deadline. You got to do something. So I look at this the same way.
Don, how fluid is your situation with your UFAs, and how might that change on the other side of this weekend?
What was the first part?
How fluid is the situation with your UFAs?
Yeah, we're talking to multiple. Probably better not to get into all the names right now, but the guys that we certainly were priorities, we've been in contact quite a bit with, and that's going to continue right through till July 1st, of course, maybe after. But yeah, it's been I can't tell you how many conversations with all those agents. It's been a lot.
And have you informed any of those significant UFAs that they won't be back?
Not yet. Soon to come.
Once we're on the other side of the draft, where are you hoping, whether it's the guys you pick or maybe trading for veterans, where are you hoping you've improved by this time next week?
Well, I've said all along, I think there's a couple of areas that we'd like to be deeper and better, up front and on the back end. Obviously, if we signed all our own guys, we were pretty comfortable how we ended the season with that group. So we're pretty open to any position, to be honest with you, and we will look at, and we have looked at. I would love to be able to show you guys this book I keep on all the conversations because I write everything down, and it's pages of players, either mostly obviously through trades, and then of course you got the free agent list, but. I feel comfortable that we're going to be able to do a few things that are going to make our hockey team better, and that's our goal. And you got to remember, it doesn't stop on July 1st either, because there's a few guys that we signed later on, JBR, guys that played, had a pretty good impact with our hockey club last year.
Now, another unique challenge that's come up this year has been the rising salary cap and maybe the perceived change of value for players, especially going on a cap percentage. Is that something that you guys have had to really look into to kind of gauge how that all will work out?
Well, if we hadn't looked into it, I've been educated by every agent I talk to because that's all they talk about. Just because a player was worth $3 million last year doesn't mean he's worth $4 million because the cap went up. So yeah, no, we're very aware of it, and again, anytime the cap goes up, there's a certain group of players that are going to take most of that cap. It's usually the topper end players. Usually the guys in the middle get little bumps, but not big ones, and the bottom guys always get squeezed the worst. That's the way the cap's worked in the past. There's more money in the market, obviously, this year with the cap going up like it is, and it's going to continue over the next multiple years the way the cap's structured right now. So I think what we're seeing now and hearing from the agents, it's going to continue with the cap escalating like it's going to.
You've kind of put it out there that those picks, one or both, may be available. It's been out there for a while. I'm wondering, how much at all, if at all, you haven't traded any of them. So, how much is that factored into? You don't know what you could get for those yet, right? So is that factored into the fact that maybe that none of the UFAs have been signed so far? If you
No, I mean, yes and no. I mean, obviously, there's still a few that we'd like to bring back for sure. We've could have traded both picks by now. Had offers for both of them, but didn't feel that it was value for us. You know, we're not just going to trade the picks because I said we're going to trade them. We're going to trade them if it means meaningful trades for our hockey club. You know, our goal is to make our hockey club better today, but we also got to guard the future too. So if we end up keeping both picks and picking them, then we'll get players for the future. I'm still pretty confident that there's something that's going to break here. And then the next, I guess we're 36 hours or whatever it is away from the draft, 30 hours before the draft. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, we'll move forward.
Anyone else? Any more questions? Mark?
Back to the draft for a second. Just wondering, how have you guys handled scouting Russian players? Like, have you had a chance to be able to go over, look at them? I know Gold Star had the event too. Do you guys feel more confident now in being able to see those type of players this year?
Well, the Gold Star event is, for people that don't know, it's Dan Milstein's company. He had 30 players that are eligible for the draft in Florida last weekend. I went to Fort Lauderdale, where it was cooler there than here, but and they did all the same testing that the Combine does, the NHL. So I got to interview the players. Now, to answer your question, everything's done by video. We do have one Russian scout, but everything is done by video for the Russians. And, you know, the video today has changed than it was, 5-10 years ago. It's so good in every league, not just Russia. But so we got a pretty good feeling for the Russian players. You know, the thing that's coming out of Russia this year is probably some top goalies, which you're always interested in. That was the main reason I went down there, to interview all those guys, just to see what they're all about and learn about their contracts, because it's always tricky in Russia with contracts. So yeah, I feel like we're actually, as I walked out of there, we were talking about Russians, because I got 40 people back there in the locker room doing our draft right now. So we'll be ready for, if it's Russians, Swedes, Finns, Canadians, U.S., whatever they are, we'll be ready.
Just quickly, with July 1st coming up, I believe that'll be the first time you could start talking to Adam Fantelli's camp about an extension. Do you have plans to contact them as soon as you can, based on last season and what you saw, or just kind of a wait-and-see process?
Well, I will talk to him. I can't tell you it's going to be July 1st, but we'll talk this summer for sure. I mean, it's, we got the interesting part, and these are the hardest deals to get done for long term, because of obviously the short window the players had. The good thing is his agent has always done a lot of deals with him, and he'll see the market probably the same way we are. We might not, we may have to do a short-term bridge deal in the meantime, but it'll get done. It's just a matter of timing. It's not that important just yet, but it'll come this summer.
Anyone else?
Great, thank you, everybody. Hopefully I'll have more news for you tomorrow.